Hello students. So today we are going to start the new chapter, and the name of this chapter is Heat and its Effects. So in this chapter we are going to study what is this heat and what are the various process that is occurring in our surrounding because of heat, and what type of impact can heat causes on the various materials in our surrounding. And yes, later on in the next video we are going to discuss how we can measure the temperature with the help of thermometers. So thermometer and various scale used for the measurement of temperature, that we are going to study in the next video. So starting with this, so first question arises in our mind is, what is heat? So earlier, heat was considered as fluid which was gained by a body when it was heated and lost when it was cooled. So earlier it was said that, or it was considered that heat is a kind of fluid which appears when a body is heated. So, and if we are going to cool that body, then this fluid is going to lost, or that heat is going to lost. So that is how these people are basically defining the heat. But later on, uh, with the help of Count Rumford and James Prescott, so these were the two scientists who has established that heat is a form of energy which is known as thermal energy, and according to them it can be converted into the many forms of energy. So heat energy, that is the thermal energy, can be converted into the many form of energy, whereas all these form of energy can produce heat energy. So what I mean to say is, energy is neither be created nor be destroyed as per the law of thermodynamics, and it can be changes into one form to the other. So heat energy is a type of thermal energy which can change its form to one form to the other, whereas it can be produced from the other source of energy. So that is why heat is basically a kind of energy that is known as thermal energy. Now one more question, when does heat produce? So this is the question. So there are many processes by doing which we can produce heat. So simple process is rubbing your hand together. So if you are rubbing your both hand together in forward and backward direction, or in upward and downward movement, so heat will produce. So when we rub our hand, heat can be produced. Similarly, there are some other processes. As you can see in this slide, this fuel is burning. So heat can be produced when fuel is burnt. This fuel, it may be LPG, that is burning of LPG, and it may be due to burning of heater, and it may be due to burning of some coal. So all these are a kind of fuel, and yes, because of their burning process, heat is going to produce. Now, what happens when water is heated? So what will happen if we are going to heat the water? So remember, water is made up of small tiny particles. Even every material is made up of small tiny particles. So here what will happen when we are going to apply heat into this water? So what is going to happen, that particle present in the water is going to gain that heat energy, and they will start moving faster. Let us see this activity. So here you can see, first of all, we are decreasing the temperature. As you can see, we are reducing the temperature. So the movement of particle is slowing down. Now we are increasing the temperature. So you can see the particles of the water are moving more randomly. So this speed is increasing, this movement is increasing by change in temperature or by heating the water. So what we can say, the particles of the substance, in this case it is water, so the particle will move more faster if more heat is provided or more heat energy is provided to the water. Now moving ahead, what are the various effects of heating? So if we are doing heating, what kind of effects it can cause onto the substance? So first is the heat can cause increase in the temperature. So it is going to increase the temperature of that particular substance. It may be water, it may be anything. So heat can produce this effect. Similarly, heat causes expansion. Expansion means change in volume from smaller to higher in size, larger in size. That means there is a change in volume. Third is the heat can cause change in state. Yes, if we are going to heat the water that is in liquid form, so it is going to convert into the vapor that is in gaseous form. So heat can cause change in state. It can melt solid into liquid. It can change liquid into vapors like this. So heat can cause chemical change. Remember, there are many chemical reaction in our surrounding which takes place due to the presence of heat. So heat can cause chemical changes. It can change the characteristic of various substances. Similarly, heat can cause killing of bacteria. So bacteria can be killed by the effect of heating. Now later on in this slide, we are going to study about this particular effect of heating, that is heating causes expansion, that is change in volume. So heat causes expansion. So when material like solid metal, liquid, gases, if it is heated, then its particle gain energy and start moving faster. As you have seen in the video that the particle of water has started moving fast because of the gain of energy. Similarly, all these substances, that may be metal, that may be liquid, that may be gaseous, so the particle of these substances are going to move faster when we are going to provide heat. So this movement of particle will increase their average distance. So the space between the two particles will increase because of this faster movement, which is because of the gain of heat energy. Now, if the distance is going to increase, the particle distance is going to increase, their volume will also increase. So this is the particle earlier. So when we are going to provide heat, so it will start moving faster and the particle will move away from each other. So their space between the particle is going to increase and simultaneously the volume occupied by these particles is going to increase. So that is why the material expand due to heating. Now particle of solid are more close to each other. So this thing you have to remember, that particle of solids are more close to each other. Similarly, particles of liquid are less close to each other. That means liquids are having more space as compared to the solid particles. So liquid particles are having more space between them as compared to the solid particle. Similarly, gaseous particles are very far from each other. So they are having much more space than the liquid and then the solid. So the particle of gas are having more space than the particle of liquid, than the particle of solid. So if we are going to compare these three state of matter, that is solid, liquid and gases, So the particle of gas is moving very freely, whereas liquid you can see it is moving, but the movement is not so much high, and solid is very compact, very close to each other. So the particle of solid is very close to each other. So what we can say, the particle of gas is having more space between them, whereas the particle of liquid is having less space, whereas the solid is having almost negligible space between their particles. Now moving ahead, expansion in solids. So what will be the effect of temp heat onto the solid? Now solids, especially metals like iron, copper, gold, silver, aluminium, these all metals expands on heating. There are some other metals also. So they expands on heating. So remember one thing, different solid expands in different amount for same increase in temperature. Let us say if we are going to increase the temperature from 10 degree to 20 degree, that means the difference of increase is 10 degree. So in that 10 degree, by that 10 degree, iron may expand much more than the copper, or copper may expand much more than the gold. Similarly, gold can expand much more than the silver. It may happen like this. So now whether these solids expand due to heating or not, we can test with the help of this experiment, which is known as ring and ball heating experiment. Here you can see, first of all, this is the metallic ball which may be made up of copper or some other metal. So we are going to, if we are going to pass this ball through this ring, you can say this is the ring. So this ball can easily pass through this ring. Now after applying heat, what we can see that this ring or this ball is not going to pass through this ring. So that means the ball shape has increased, the volume of this ball has increased due to heating. Now we can see this video also. First of all, this is the ball which is passing through the ring very easily. Now what we will do, we are going to heat this ball for at least 3 minutes. Now by applying heat, so this ball, metal ball will expand. Now we are going to pass it through the ring. So what we will see, this is unable to pass. So that means the size of ball has increased. That means ball has expanded due to the heating. Now same we can see what will be the effect of heat onto the liquids. So liquids are also going to expand. So liquid expand more than the solid on heating. Why? Because you know very well the space between the particle of the liquid is more than the space between the particle of solid. So liquid expand more than the solids on heating. One more thing that you have to remember is different liquid expand differently for the same increase in temperature. So again, as in the case of solid we have seen, similarly liquids are also going to behave in same manner. Now for this we have an example of thermometer in which mercury is in liquid form. So mercury is a metal which is in liquid form. So as less heat, the mercury will be available at lower level. But when we are providing more heat to the thermometer, so the mercury will expand, the liquid mercury will expand and it will rise up. So this activity, although we are using this activity in our house also, this thermometer, and here also you can see the principle is same, that when we are going to apply heat, so liquid will expand. So on the basis of this principle only, we can confirm that yes, liquid expand on heating. Similarly, gases, that is the third state of matter, it is also going to expand, and it expand more than liquid and solid. Why? Because the particle of gases is having more space between them as compared to liquid and solid. Now you can see this example, this experiment, in which if you are going to make a setup like this. So this is the bowl in which water is placed, and this is the, you can say, bottle. It may be glass bottle. So air is filled inside this bottle, and this bottle is kept inside this water beaker. And yes, one balloon is attached onto the top of the bottle. So air is filled inside it, and some amount of air is present in this balloon also. Now, if you are going to heat the water beaker, then the water level will rise. So what we can say, water is expanding. Now the heat through this burner will transfer to this water, then it will reaches to the bottle. So the particle of air present inside this bottle will start moving randomly. Earlier they were stable, but here now the movement will start more vigorously. And similarly, this expanded air will go in all direction, and it will be filled up inside this balloon. Now this balloon will start expanding. So by doing this experiment, we can observe that balloon is expanding, and it is expanding because the air present in this bottle and the balloon is expanding. So this tell us that yes, gases expands onto heating. Now there are some examples in our surrounding which is due to the expansion effect of heating. Now one we can see is the automatic fire alarm. So these fire alarm is basically located in our house, in industries, in big buildings. So this fire alarm system basically work on the principle of expansion of solids. So now here we can see this is the circuit diagram, and this is the bimetallic strip. Why it is called bimetallic? Because it is having two metal. This yellow color is made up of brass, and this is the black color iron. So this is bimetallic strip. So when heat is provided to this metallic strip, so what will happen? So this strip will bend toward the this pointer, and the circuit between this pointer and this metal strip will become active, and due to which the current will start flowing through this circuit, and this bell will ring. So this will happen when there is some fire, and because of that fire, heat will produce, and this will cause bending of this bimetallic strip. So this will allow the circuit to get complete, and the fire alarm will raise. Now there are some other example also, that is bending of electrical cable. You have seen that in the summer the electric cable onto the pole in our street basically sag down. So that is because of the heating effect of onto the metallic part of the cable. Similarly, we can observe this thing that glass tumblers, when we pour some hot liquid into it, so it generally break down. So that is because of, again, sudden change of temperature and sudden expansion of the glass. Similarly, you can see that railway track, due to expansion, its shape become distorted, and it is due to the expansion of metal due to heat. So there are some other example also, like expansion of steel bridges. So you can see that steel bridges normally we made so of steel, so it can also expand. So that is why we provide roller in onto the one end, so that if expansion will be there, so the bridge will slide onto the right side or onto the other side, so that it will not break or it will not change its shape. So these rollers are basically provided. Similarly, for railway tracks, we have this kind of setups. Generally, these gaps are being provided in railway track. So now I'm going to show you this video in which how these gaps of railway track are going to prevent it from the change of shape. Let us watch this video. So you can see by the summer heat, this track gap is filled, and when the train pass on to this track, so because of friction, the heat is produced. So because of this, the volume of the railway track increases and length of the railway track increases due to increased volume. So this gap basically fill up. So that is why it is good to keep this gap in the railway track so that expansion effect can be reduced.